So winter's here and you're wondering how to water your plants. Well, in this episode, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about winter watering. Yes, there is a difference between summer watering and winter watering. And believe it or not, a lot of people have such a hard time watering their plants in the winter that they actually kill them. And to be honest, summer watering is a lot more important than winter watering, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Alright, so for you to understand how to water your plants in the winter, you need to understand what makes the difference. Plants sweat for the same reasons you do, so what that means is just like you in the winter time, plants do not sweat as much. So because they're not sweating as much, well guess what? They don't drink as much water. And on top of that, the evaporation rate in the soil, it's a lot lower during the winter time. So guess what that means? It means you don't have to water your plants as often as you do in the summer. So actually winter watering, it's a lot easier to do than summer watering. So for those of you stressed out right now, anxious and all of that, don't worry about it. It's a lot easier. Just make sure you watch the entire video. So in order to water your plants, you need to understand what type of plants you have. And I break them down into two different categories. Category number one, it's going to be plants that hold water, and category number two is going to be plants that do not hold water. So let's go ahead and get started with plants that do not hold water, because those are the easiest to water in the winter time. So this plant right here, this is a hibiscus. If you're not familiar with them, it's a flowering plant. It gives you flowers that come in many different colors. So how do you water this plant in the winter time? Well, to understand that, let's go ahead and talk about summer watering. This plant right here has shallow roots. So in the summertime, this plant was getting water about every 2 days for a few hours. And the reason why is because if you look at the soil, it's on a slope. So every time that it got water, most of the water actually ran off. So this plant right here has a drip irrigation system. So how often to water your plant will depend on what type of irrigation system you have. Now, let's go ahead and talk about winter watering. So how often does this plant need to get water in the winter in order to not die? Well, that's very easy to do. All you gotta do is check the soil. The soil will always give you the answer. So all you gotta do, if you have mulch, just dig it up and see what the soil looks like. Is it wet? Is it dry? And obviously, if it's going to be wet, guess what? It's going to take a lot longer to dry in the winter time. So if every 2 days was fine for this plant right here during the summer months when the plant was actually sweating and actively growing and drinking water, well, guess what? In the winter time, it's going to take a lot longer for this plant to actually dry. If you look, the soil right here, it is wet right now. So if it was winter for me right now, I can tell you this soil right here would easily take about a week and a half to 2 weeks to dry. Just a few inches, because the plant's not sweating, the plant's not growing, it's cold, the evaporation rate's a lot lower. So guess what? You don't even have to worry about it, because usually you will get rain in the winter, and whatever rain you get, that will be enough for most of your plants. So, if you're worried about watering your plants and killing them in the winter time, well, don't, because they will not. You will actually kill them in the summer because you're so afraid to overwater your plants, and then you start watering your plants in the winter time when it's actually cold and your plants don't need the water. Well, that's how you do that one. Now, let's go ahead and talk about plants that hold water. So if you look at these plants right here, these plants are called canna lilies. Now these plants actually have bulbs under the ground, and those bulbs hold a lot of water. So these plants right here can even go longer without water during the winter months. How long? To be honest, the entire winter. Here in the winter, as soon as the night temperatures drop below 50 degrees, these plants right here do not get any water at all for the entire winter. And whatever rain we get, that is enough. Because most of this stuff right here will die back from frost. And the only thing that will stay alive is whatever the bulbs are, whatever bulbs you got underground. And those have water, they're not sweating, evaporation rate's a lot lower, and guess what? They can go a very long time without water. Now, we have another plant right here. And this plant right here is called a bird of paradise. Now this plant right here has actually, just like banana plants, it holds water within their stems in its root system. So this plant right here can go a long time without water too. So to be honest, in the wintertime, here in the desert, where it hardly rains ever, these plants right here do not get any water at all because the soil stays wet for too long. If you look back here, there are some banana plants. We got some more canna lilies right here. We have some more bird of paradise right here. And guess what? They are all on the same irrigation system. So these plants right here, as soon as it gets colder within the month or so, night temperatures 50 degrees or lower, they will not get any water anymore because guess what? They don't need it. Especially banana plants. I don't know what it is, but banana plants, Everybody thinks they need tons of water, and it's actually the opposite here in my area. Banana plants hold tons of water, tons of water. I have never seen a banana plant die from being underwatered, but I've seen many banana plants die from being overwatered. And the reason why is because these plants right here hold water. So they will drink the water within their stems before they drink the water from the soil. Now the soil is taking a lot longer to dry, so guess what happens? If the soil stays wet, the plant has water within their stems, the plant's not sweating, the plant's not drinking the water, well, guess what's going to happen? You are going to overwater your plants. So I have a video where I tell you everything you need to know about overwatering your plants. So go ahead and check it out if you want more details, but I'm going to give you the quick summary. It takes a very long time to actually overwater your plants. A long time. I'm talking about months. Now, sometimes it may take even a few years, but that mainly happens in areas where it's hot throughout the entire year. Now, during the winter, how long would it take for this banana plant right here to get overwatered? This banana plant would have to be wet 24/7. 24/7, and it would probably take, I would say, easily the entire winter to get overwatered. And it may not even get overwatered because it just depends on how wet the soil is. This is a fully rooted banana plant in the ground, so even if you rot it a little bit, it will actually grow back in the spring a lot faster than you can kill it. In warmer areas, these plants right here grow so fast that it doesn't matter how you screw it up, they actually grow faster than you can kill them. So yes, in the wintertime, it will take months to overwater your banana plants. And usually, most plants that are going to get overwatered are usually plants that hold water. Banana plants, succulents, cacti, all those plants that hold water are the only ones that are more prone to get overwatered during the winter months. But if you have other plants like this queen's palm right here, or you have hibiscus in the ground, and you worry about overwatering those guys, it's just not going to happen. These plants right here, they have shallow roots, fibrous roots, so it takes a long time for them to get overwatered. The main condition for your plant to actually get overwatered is the soil must not drain the water. It needs to be soggy wet 100% of the time for that root system to actually get overwatered. If you do not meet those conditions, your plant is not going to get overwatered. And I'm talking about here in the desert, guys. It hardly ever rains here. So here, overwatering issues is very unusual. Now, if you live in an area where it rains all the time, it's always humid, it's always soggy, well, guess what? In most of those areas, the soil drains very fast, very quickly, and you guys don't have clay soil like I do right here. My soil holds a lot of water, so it's a lot easier to overwater plants in this type of soil than it is in fast draining soils. But do not worry about overwatering your plants. Winter watering is very easy to do. As long as your plant gets some water, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. So this plant right here, it's a Shangri-La mulberry tree. It has a taproot system. Now this plant right here is a deciduous plant. What does that mean? It means it goes dormant during the winter months. So this plant right here has no leaves. If your plant has no leaves, guess what? Your plant's not going to be able to sweat. If your plant's not sweating, guess what? It's not going to drink hardly any water from the soil. So guess what? Any plant that's deciduous like this one right here that goes into dormancy during the winter months, do not even worry about watering them. And remember, it's all about the night temperatures. As soon as the night temperatures get cold, don't water your plants. Just forget about them, especially for plants like this. This is a bamboo plant right here. This is a sunburst. Now this plant has a shallow root system. This plant is native to areas where it's tropical all year round. But here in the winter time, even though they don't drop their leaves, they will slow down growing drastically. So this plant right here, just water it like any other plant that has shallow roots. Check the soil. If the soil is wet, see how long it takes to dry, about 6 to 12 inches, and then give it another week, and then you can go ahead and water your plants. Just to give you an idea, this plant right here in the winter months, it's probably going to get watered maybe every week to week and a half. This plant right here is not going to have any water at all during the winter time. This plant right here holds water because this is a canna lily right here. This plant will die back to the ground, bulbs underground, no water at all for the entire winter. This plant right here is a fig. This fig right here will drop all its leaves in the winter. No water at all during the winter time. More canna lilies over there. No water at all during the winter months. This one right here is a pygmy date palm. This one does not go into dormancy. It has a shallow root system, but guess what? Even this plant right here, easily 2 to 3 weeks watering. That's how easy it is to water plants during the winter months. And I'm talking about here in the desert. So we don't get hardly any rain. If you get more rain more often than I do here, then guess what? You probably won't have to water your plants at all. Now check this out. If you have plants in containers, for those of you that are growing container plants, just follow the 75% rule. And what is that? Just wait until the containers dry 75% and then go ahead and water. To give you an idea, my plants in the summer months in containers, I usually water them about 3 to 4 times a day because they dry about 50% 3 to 4 times daily. Now in the winter months, I follow the 75% rule, simply because in the winter plants take a lot longer to actually dry. Now those same plants that I water 3 to 4 times a day during the summer months, guess what? In the winter, they get watered about once a week because it takes about a week for those plants to dry about 75%. Now, if you have container plants and your container plants are taking 2-3 weeks to dry 75%, you have an issue, and that is how you are going to have overwatering issues. They're not going to happen overnight. Just because it rained last night and you forgot to turn your irrigation system off, your plant's not going to get overwatered overnight. It's going to take months. But you have to fix the problem because otherwise your plants are going to. Winter watering, super easy to do. Actually, during the winter months, I take a break. It's such a relief not to have to worry about my plants dying in 1 hour in the sun if they go dry. Super easy to do, and it'll be easier for you, especially if you live anywhere else in the United States where you get more rainfall than I do. As always, if you have any questions, you need one-on-one help, join my Patreon. I answer all questions there and also have some extra content that you guys can watch there. Also, if you have any other questions, usually for about the first day or two when I post my videos, I will answer the questions down below in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? And especially if you haven't liked the video, shame on you. As always, I will see you next time.